Hello, welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. Um, I'm a psychic and a medium. Uh, I'm 56 years old. I'm only telling you my age because those of you that are young might think in 1996 that the internet was similar to what it is today, but it wasn't. It was much slower and um, it just wasn't as quick. So I'm just clearing the space. I actually have a black candle burning because after we talked about the JonBenet Ramsey case last time, it just felt super icky. So I got a black candle with some of this fiery protection oil from Art of the Root. Highly recommend Art of the Root. Um, so today I want to look a little bit deeper into who this intruder was. So it feels like uh, the intruder had been in the house a few times before, maybe even slept there, perhaps was unhoused himself and needed a place to stay in the winter. Um, Not quite entirely sure about that. So I think today we're going to use the Light Seers Tarot. It's a great illustration of a tarot deck. So let's start with the question. Uh, was the killer drawn to the house because he knew JonBenet Ramsey was living there, um, because he had seen pictures of her or had been to one of those pageants, or perhaps knew somebody that had been to one of those pageants and knew her like through the internet. That's why I brought up the internet. Maybe he had seen photographs of her online after she was murdered. A bunch of photographs leaked to the tabloids. So um, were they circulating around online back in 1996 when things were far less regulated and um, anyone could have their own website without paying anything, and this was a much different place. So okay, so did the killer know that JonBenet lived there? The Queen of Swords popped out the deck. Um, so strong feminine energy. Did the killer know that JonBenet Ramsey lived in that particular house when he broke in the first time? So when he broke in the first time, did he know that she lived there? So with the Eight of Wands, things happened very quickly. Um, so if he didn't know it for long. He moved very quick. Uh, You got the King of Cups energy. Says, feeling confident in his element. Uh, Not really scared to enter the house at all. Queen of Swords is back up. It's interesting. It says twice now we've seen that card in the last 30 seconds. Um, so strong female energy. We'll try to figure out what that means here in a bit. Let's keep going. Uh, you get the full card, so acting foolishly. It's also can be like kind of a new phase of life. We was thinking from the reading last time that perhaps he had some experience in this matter, but perhaps not, or perhaps he was elevating, um, his game to include more dangerous elements to it. Yeah, kind of getting an image of a person in a coat with like a winter hat, you know, kind of casing out the house. Now, it could be for a variety of reasons, but let's keep going. Um, Three of Swords. This is heartache. Um, the question was, did he know that she she lived there? Um, I'm not quite sure how to interpret that. Let's keep going. Maybe it'll become clear. We get the magician card. This came up last time too. So, working his magic, to get in and to explore around and to not be noticed. And the Four of Pentacles, keeping things very tight to his chest. Probably, if he did tell anybody about this, it was a very tight circle of friends that wouldn't have been able to talk about it. Anyhow, we get the High Priestess. This is dark energy at work that makes a lot of sense. Uh, he's sort of this ominous, dark presence on the inside, but maybe outwardly didn't appear that way. Maybe coasted through life a little bit unnoticed, and perhaps this Three of Swords is more about that, more about you know being tormented that nobody really gave a you know two thoughts about him, and maybe in a way pulling this off was a way that he thought he could bring attention to himself, although it turned out that wasn't the case, or at least not yet. um kind of like some of the school shooters, their motivations are to bring notoriety to themselves, or suicide bombers. That kind of energy is what I'm feeling. I'm also kind of getting this image of him being surrounded by darkness. I think in the last reading I was getting some images of a tent, but this is an inside space and it being very dark. Um, and not dark because the lights weren't on, but dark because there weren't enough lights to turn on, um, or couldn't be turned on. This could relate back to this idea that maybe he was hiding um, in the house and like, you know, the attic, or behind an HVAC unit in one of those closets. Do kind of get kind of the smell of a furnace running. Um, but we might want to explore that a little bit more. And then we get the Eight of Cups, and I think it normally means walking away from something. And I think this still does, but I think it's in a different context. I think it means walking away from the life he was living, and knowing that his life wouldn't be the same uh, moving forward. And then, I mean, this is a very apt card. So in the final outcome card, we get the moon. So things needing to come to the surface. Just the imagery on this card is very interesting. We have a woman underwater looking up at the moon. We got Wolf's Bane at the full moon. Um, so things are yet to be revealed. What those are. Um, is anybody's guess at this point. We'll maybe see what we can dive into. Uh, in the shadow energies, we get the Nine of Wands, this weary warrior type feeling. We get victory, but it's blinded. It is blinded, and um, we get the wounded in battle card, and then again, this is the second time we've pulled the Seven of Swords. I know it looks different in this deck, but this again is the thief card, the getting away with something card. So the question was, did he know that she lived there? Uh, I think maybe he did, but I don't think that maybe he knew it the first time he went into the house. I think he might have realized it afterwards. And so, a couple cards. Let's see if we can't get some clarifiers on what is this? Who's this about? What's this Queen of Swords energy about? Who's this strong female presence? That's interesting. Six of Swords is sometimes moving away from troubled water. It also can be traveling across seas. You get the Ace of Pentacles. It's a new start. And we get the Tower. It almost makes me wonder if this isn't like kind of his mother. And I had gotten kind of a drawn to this several months ago when I first thought about doing these videos, and I kind of didn't do them because the energy's kind of, like I said, very icky. But I'd kind of gotten drawn to the fact that this person might not have been from the United States or maybe wasn't born in the United States. Um, and maybe came over for a new start. And why? Why did he come over? Uh, Maybe his mother was no longer there. Maybe his mother had passed on. Um, which of course can create a lot of trauma. And maybe he was also maybe trying to escape her because she was just over domineering, abusive, um, all sorts of things. But kind of getting kind of, I don't think English was his first language. It's almost like it's hearing kind of, it's not German, but definitely an Eastern European type language, not Russian either. Um, and then military, maybe he came to the United States after the ethnic cleansing that was going around in Bosnia, um, when he was a kid. That that might make some sense. And it made him very dark. So yeah, I think we're gonna have to keep exploring that aspect. So yeah, did he know that she lived there? Um, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't think the answer is very clear. I think what I'm kind of sensing is that he knew it after the fact, but he didn't know who she was. until somebody told him who she was. So, one of the questions I have on my list is, uh, was the killer connected to anybody in Boulder or Colorado or in the surrounding switchbacks um, area? Like, had he talked about her online? I kind of get this feeling of, him sitting in this dark room, chatting online, and it's kind of like, um, we pulled the Eight of Pentacles twice last reading, which is the Apprentice card. And I was thinking about that uh, over the last, 24, 48 hours. And, you know, was he a student? You know, maybe not just a student, but a graduate student. And, most of the time, graduate students have offices. Was he sitting in his office, chatting up other people online and discussing these kind of sick and twisted ideas? So let's look at that. So was the killer was the killer connected to a group of people that shared, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, a common interest in little girls? Is the killer connected to a group of people who shared this common interest? A group of people that shared this common interest. So we get the Knight of Cups information being exchanged. Yeah, I think the answer is yes. We get the Four of Wands. This is family, so interested in families. Um, this is the Gilded Toil Tarot Rail, and the Four of Wands. There's a little girl. So I think the answer is a big yes. This is interesting. This is a Page of Swords. This is a spy in the camp. Did he know somebody online that had been attending these beauty pageants? So there was a photographer that was shooting these beauty pageants that was later arrested in Oregon for having child sexual abuse photos. Um, was he the spy in that camp, that photographer? And did our guy know this photographer? No, the photographer was ruled out by DNA, but like I said last time, I think with everybody being in that scene and all the craziness that happened that morning, I just don't think we should believe the DNA. Um, whether it includes or excludes, I just don't think that um, it should be believed. Um, and interesting. So I just got it's weird. This is the Justice card. I just kind of got this clairvoyant or clairsentient, clairaudient um, sound of, I'll get you. And I think it was referring to the photographer. Did somehow those two have a falling out and our killer kind of help the arrest happen in some way. And then we get the Ten of Cups. This is families and celebration and stuff like that. And I guess this is something he never had. The killer, he didn't have a happy childhood for sure. At least that's my sense of it. And there's something weird with the mother. And like I said, it kind of feels like he, is not from the US, but came here under some extreme circumstances, such as, as a refugee. Um, and we get again that same feminine fire energy. Uh, the King of Pentacles. This kind of reminds me. I know it's not what the card means literally in the tarot, but if you look at the image, it's almost like somebody sitting in a computer chair. That's kind of what I see. So, is this somebody who spent a lot of time online? I know in the 90s, that wasn't necessarily something that happened as much as it happens today, but that's kind of the sense I get. And then, ugh, not surprised at all. This is the devil, addictions, toxicity. Um, you know, I think he was addicted to talking to people on the internet about these really twisted fantasies. And, you know, and then at some point he comes to a crossroads. He discovers that he's hit the jackpot, so to speak, and obviously in a twisted way. Um, that he has, found a way into this house where this little girl is, um, that other people are also interested in, and perhaps sees this as a money making attempt almost. Like we're gonna ask the question here in a bit. What was that night really about? Like I said, I don't think he intended to kill her, but what was the night really about? Um, so this is the wish fulfillment card. So yeah, he got what he wanted, so to speak. And we had this card last time too, the Ten of Swords, this complete and utter downfall. This also can be an end of a very dark cycle. So, you know, was this the last crime he committed? Was this the end of his dark cycle? Because right after that, we get a new beginning with the Ace of Pentacles, and we get the Eight of Swords, which we had it last time, which is about maybe living life in hiding, being confined to something. Um, so maybe after this all happened and he quote unquote got away with it, maybe he knew he had to live his life very carefully. So if you're familiar with the case, there's a character that comes up who was emailing back and forth with a reporter or a documentary maker, professor, who called himself Daxus. who claimed, and he was later arrested for killing her. It turned out that he wasn't the killer according to the DNA. Um, but I said, I don't think we should trust the DNA. So I don't know how seriously we should take that. Um, I, his name slips my mind. Last name is Carr, Karr. Um, something Michael Carr, something along those lines. Um, anyhow, we can look that up. Did he came forward, but he had went to Thailand and was living in Thailand, you know, but still committing crimes. Um, but did this guy, I'm curious whether let's just ask that really simple question. Did the killer know this Daxus character, also known by Carr? Was Daxus maybe his chatting name? That's the name he used in all the emails. Back in the old days of the chat rooms. Daxus his name. So did the killer know this Daxus character? Let's just pull a couple cards. I mean, it's the Tower card. I mean, I think so. I mean, that's a big yes card in the tarot. Yeah. So I think the killer was active in these chat rooms and had discovered after the fact, after he perhaps described or even took a picture of the pictures that were on the wall of this little girl and these hypersexualized photos of her with all the makeup and the beauty gowns and stuff. Maybe he discovered after the fact that this was a girl who people had been talking about in the inner circles, such as the photographer in Oregon, who is pretty sure he's still in prison. Um, yeah, so that's sounds pretty twisted, but it kind of makes a lot of sense that uh, is what's going on. So, Daxus also, the next question I have on my list was the killer alone that night? And then also, what was the plan for that night? We don't want to make this video obscenely long, but um, let's see if we can't get those two questions together. So this deck doesn't feel right. Let's switch decks. Um, this is the before tarot. So let's ask the question, what was the plan with JonBenet Ramsey on Christmas night of 1996 or early in the morning on the 26th of December? What was the plan in taking her out of the bed and carrying her downstairs? What was the plan? Let's get an image of that's weird. Earlier, I think I said something about a dark room and not being able to turn the lights on. Was this perhaps literally a dark room, where photos are developed? Was the goal just to take pictures of this girl, sexual abuse photos of this girl, and, you know, maybe get a monetary reward for it? Were people going to pay him to do that? Was that the plan? Is that too specific of a question? Probably. Let's just see, what was the plan? Let's see if money kind of pops up into this reading. What was the plan? What was the killer's plan in taking out JonBenet Ramsey from her bedroom, taking her to the downstairs? And I really get the feeling that he wasn't alone. And it's such a shame that the house was so crazy the next morning that there was no proper investigation, with fingerprinting and DNA, because we'll never know. And contrary to some of the stories that first came out, there was no snow on the ground, so there would be no footprint evidence showing people leaving because there was concrete outside of that window. Um, what was the plan? Moving through the dark house. You see him going up the main flight of stairs, not the spiral staircase, but the main flight of stairs. What was the plan for the night? I took her. Well, I mean, this is the before tarot. This is the Queen of Pentacles. I don't know if you can see this, but the snake, like the devil representation, is handing her money. And we'll get into the pomegranate tree here in a second. So, if you remember from the autopsy, they found undigested pieces of pineapple in her stomach. Now, obviously, pomegranates and pineapples are two different things, but the symbology is kind of the same. Pineapple was thought to be a symbol of wealth in colonial days because they were so rare and had to be imported. Um, so I think the goal was to make money. It's interesting. It's the Queen of Pentacles. And then whatever the plan was, this is the Seven of Cups. This is the illusion and delusion card. Whatever the plan was, to a normal person, it would have sounded completely insane, right? It wouldn't, was completely covering their eyes. And as in this, the illustration, he's covering his eyes. Um, so going into this really not clear headed. Um, and again, we have another card for money and wealth. You had another card about money. This is the Ace of Pentacles and the Nine of Pentacles. And yet another card about money. So I think we got the answer. This is about money. This is the Eight of Cards. This is the Apprentice card again. This is the third time now that this card has popped up. You know, it makes me feel, I feel like he was like a graduate student or a student. Um, I think he was very poor. Like I said, he might have been uh, without a living quarters, which would make sense if you're a university student and you lived in the dorms. Generally they closed the dorms over the winter break. Um, that might not be coincidental. Uh, in private readings, this card um, I usually tell clients is telling them to go down a new path or start a new career, or go to college or you know plant new seeds. And so that's why and I see this, this him on a computer. And if he was poor and wanting all this money, would have he had a computer? I mean, computers were more expensive in the 90s than they are today, right? You can get a laptop on Amazon today for $200. You couldn't get a computer for, I don't know. I think the first computer I bought was almost $1,000, which is a lot of money back then, still a lot of money today. But um, yeah, this was all about money. And then the spit, shall we say, hits the fan. Um, and maybe this tower moment. This is before the tower actually blows up, right? It's building to that because this is the before tarot, before the actual event. And we get the Queen of Cups was, um, you know, the Queen's being delivered a gift by the dolphin. I, I think our killer was very feminine, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way at all. Uh, he's male, on the outside, at least at the time that this went down. But on the inside, maybe he's a lot more feminine than we think, which, I don't want to cast dispersions onto an already marginalized group, but it makes me wonder. And this is the Ten of Cups. This is the family card in this depiction. They're coming in from the rain. And then we have the Two of Wands, uh, which is choices, plotting one's path forward in life. And could he go forward in life without money? Could he see a way forward without that? If you've been fortunate enough to never go without, you might not understand that feeling. But if you have experienced, food insecurity and these various other things that come with having no money, no shelter, um, you might be tempted to make money even in a very sick and bizarre way. And then this is very fitting. We get the Three of Swords again. This is in the before tarot, so the swords haven't struck through the heart yet, but they're getting ready to. Ultimately, this is about JonBenet Ramsey, but ultimately, this is this person's downfall, this person's sort of mortal wound. Um, so why were they there that night? I keep saying they because I just don't feel like it was one person, but we'll ask that question here in just a second. Um, why were they there? I mean, you know, I pulled 10 cards, which is normal spread. And out of the 10 cards, five are pentacles, right? Less than 25% of the cards in the tarot are pentacle cards, right? Because there's the four suits and then the major arcanas. So I think it was about money. I think they were setting up a scene to take photographs of this little girl and sell them. I don't think there was the intention of killing her. Um, but whoever had asked for the the pictures had this very fetishized view of little girls. He didn't want to just, I don't want to describe it too much, but it's like I'm just going to clear the energy because it's very, very heavy. Um, he was aroused by abuse, right? You know, there are people that that's their thing, and it's a very healthy adult thing between two adults, but this is very twisted. I don't know that this was the killer's thing. I think the killer was doing this for money, which definitely does not make it right nor good, but um, would change the way you might want to look at that. Okay, really quickly, this isn't the right, doesn't feel like the right tag. Let's go with the after tarot. Was was the killer acting alone? Like, here's that Eight of Pentacles again. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. This is the college card from your the apprentice card. I think he was a student, but probably a graduate student, had his own office with a computer. Might have even been studying computers. Um, was the killer alone in the house? No, so we have to ask this very. On the night that JonBenet Ramsey died, did the killer have an accomplice in the house with him? Did the killer have an accomplice in the house with him on the night that JonBenet Ramsey died? Did the killer have an accomplice with him or with them? Them feels like the right pronoun. With them the night that JonBenet Ramsey died. Let's get these a cut. I really think so. I just keep getting this image of, two people carrying her, maybe not down the stairs, but, maybe after she had, when they were, I'm just going to leave it at that, you know, one holding her arms and shoulders and the other one holding her sheet. And I get that sort of image. So I think so. So you get the King of Swords. Interesting. Judgment. This is yes cards. Get the Hierophant. It's also a yes card. Let's see if I'll get the Empress. That's another yes card. I think we can stop there. Yeah. Okay. So let's unpack this a little bit. The King of Swords. This is, in charge, controlling the show. Uh, Judgment. Uh, just one second. Sorry about that. Uh, the judgment cards. This is a yes card, but it's also, the angel blowing the horn to wake the dead. So that's going to take some unpacking. That's why I wanted to stop after five cards. And then we have the Hierophant. This is, like the government, the Pope, the church, all of these things, which the church, right? I mean, and by church, of course, we mean the Catholic Church because that's all there was when the tarot came around. Um, and then we get the Empress. The Empress is is a woman who's about to give birth, right? She's the mother. Uh, this is ironically, this is the after tarot, so I think it's already happened. But um, you know, and political readings, which I don't do that often. This is my card for Russia. That's that draw to that Eastern European region. But the answer is no. He definitely wasn't alone. And here he is packing up his swords and leaving, getting away with it. The thief is walking out with whatever. But you'll notice down here, there's a trap set to catch him. Who would have been setting the trap if he was alone? I don't know. Um, but it didn't work clearly, or at least it hasn't worked yet. I mean, it's been 20, almost 25 years. So no, I don't think he was alone. Um, that's a lot. And then underneath we have the Three of Cups, which is celebration, circles of support. Uh, I think they got what they wanted. We might not ever know because, like I said, in the 90s, the internet was a different thing. So if he had taken photos and sold them, and they were transferred online, which maybe they transferred old school through the post or some other way. But um, I don't know that uh, they would have survived after a while. Yeah, there's a lot here. So, we'll continue this again. Uh, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel so that we can get it to grow. Uh, please like this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And share it with your friends. And if you're interested in other cold cases, let me know. Maybe we can find another cold case to look at that's maybe not quite as traumatic. At least it's kind of traumatic for me to look at this stuff. Um, so anyhow, thank you, and I will post another video in a few days or so. Thanks.